What is up, YouTube world? Just the other day, I was thinking it's been a little while since I've done a Lightroom tutorial. So today's video, I thought I would jam 10 of my best Lightroom tips into one video. Now, if you are new here, hi, how's it going? My name's TKNORTH or TKNORTH, and I'm a photographer from beautiful Sydney, Australia. Firstly, to anyone who has dropped a comment or a like on any of my previous videos, especially my Lightroom tutorials that I've gotten some really great feedback and some really nice comments on. Thank you so much to you beautiful people. It does mean a lot to me and it makes this process so much more rewarding. As I said, this one today, I've picked 10 of my favorite tools and tricks inside Lightroom. So whether you're kind of brand new to Lightroom, you don't use it very often, or if you've been using Lightroom for a long time, but potentially you're not making the most out of the endless tools and features inside Lightroom, hopefully you'll get a lot out of this video. They're tools that I wish I knew a lot sooner. And that's how I kind of base this video, tricks and tips that I wish I knew sooner. So let's not waste too much time. Let's jump into Lightroom and get started. So my first tip is to use auto tone and auto white balance, which are really easy to do. And if you're not doing it already, it's a really great starting point for any of your edits. If you come into the basics panel, come down to tone where it says auto, just hit that. And Lightroom will do its best to find the best exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows, whites, also blacks and vibrance and saturation depending on the image. Now you can do exactly the same thing with white balance, and Lightroom will try and find the best white balance that it thinks for each photo. So of course, this isn't perfect. It works pretty well, and I would always recommend going and making some further adjustments afterwards, but it's definitely a really useful starting point. You can see there from a couple of clicks and just a few adjustments, before and after, have already got a really nice edit without having to do too much. Lightroom has actually done most of the work. Into tip number 2. Now, this will basically help straighten your image. Of course, you can straighten your image when you crop. You can use this ruler to kind of draw in wherever you want it to be straight, whether that's a horizon or a building. But of course, an even better way, if you come down to transform here and just hit auto, Lightroom is going to do its best to automatically straighten your image. So you can see on this particular image, it's done a pretty good job at straightening this photo. However, Lightroom doesn't always do a great job of this. So the next step, if you find you're not happy with that auto adjustment or it can't find an auto adjustment, just come across to guided, pick a couple of points on the image that you know should be straight. So I want this building to be straight. So let's just draw one line there and another one across this building. I want it to be straight as well. So you can see there, just from picking 2 points, it straightened the image up. I'd probably just rotate that a little bit because I wasn't super happy with those adjustments. Constrain crop, and there again, you've got a nice straight image. So tip number 3 is another auto feature within Lightroom, and that's auto masking. This can save you so much time when you're trying to mask out a subject or a background. So like this particular image here, for instance, just if I wanted to apply an edit to just this subject, affect just that area and not the area behind him, usually I'd have to go and spend a lot of time to brush around the subject. So let's have auto mask off to begin with. I'm going to turn on show selected mask overlay. Now, if I tried to paint around my subject here, see, if I'm not careful, it's just going to paint wherever I select. And to do it really precisely is going to take a lot of time and energy. So let's get rid of that. I'm going to come back up to brush. This time I'm going to turn on auto mask. See the difference. So I'm just going to paint pretty roughly, but you can see on its own, Lightroom is finding the edges. Now, of course, this will depend on the image, and depending how much your subject stands out, it may not work as well on other photos, but usually it does a pretty good job. So it will usually struggle if it's, say, a similar color or a similar detail, but for this one, it's done a really good job. Let's turn that off. So then I can go and apply some settings and make my subject kind of stand out a little bit more, push up that clarity, push up those whites, and just push down the contrast a little bit. So you can see there, if I delete that brush, that's why auto mask is so powerful, and it makes it so much quicker, so much easier when you're selecting objects, background, sky, whatever it may be. Tip number 4, I think we're up to, and that's using range masking. You can do this on your radial filters, your graduated filters, and also the brush tool. So any of your selective edits, I use this all the time. So I've got an image here. Let's just put on a quick preset. Let's just go this one just to change the color a little bit. Now I'm going to grab a radial filter up the top here, place that in the background, and let's go a little bit crazy. I'm going to make it a lot more brighter than I probably would usually. Really crank that up, give it a little bit of orange, make it a little bit softer, a little bit of haze. Now you can see how it's really affecting the area in front of Michelle, the subject here as well. If the sun was coming from up here, which I want it to be, so this is a way to make your radial filters, your graduated filters, look a little bit more natural. So you can see there, this doesn't look very natural like this. There shouldn't be sunlight coming from this direction. But if I come down to range mask, luminance, and slide this in from the left, you can see how it's not affecting this area as much. It's just affecting the brighter parts of the image. So likewise, if I was to slide in from the opposite direction, it would only affect the darker parts of the image. And you can see if I delete that, how it's nicely affecting the background, but it's not affecting Michelle as much. A simple and easy way to make all those selective edits look a little bit more natural. So halfway mark number 5. This tip is, again, a really simple one, but it's something that I do in Lightroom every day, and that's make virtual copies. So this is really handy if you want to apply 2 different edits. You might want to do a color edit, a black and white edit. You might want to do one edit that's a little bit more for Instagram, one that's a little bit more for your website if they're slightly different. You can do that by creating a virtual copy. So if you right click on your image, just go create virtual copy file. It won't create 2 versions of that on your computer. It will only create 2 versions of that within Lightroom. Like it suggests, it's a virtual copy, not a hard copy. So I can just apply maybe a different edit to that one. Let's go one of my black and white presets. So now I've got 2 copies of that image. I've got my black and white edit, and I've also got my original color edit still there within Lightroom. I can keep both. I don't have to undo or go back to a previous edit. That's tip number 5, using virtual copies. So tip number 6 is another really handy one to get in a good habit doing. It means you don't have to have your hard drives plugged in to edit, and that's creating smart previews. So if you haven't used smart previews before, they're really easy to create, and they're going to save you a lot of hassle. It means you can take your computer outside, you don't have to take your hard drive, and you can do an edit just working from a small smart preview instead of the large copy. Now you can do this to your entire Lightroom catalog, or you can just do it to particular photos or particular folders. So for me, I'm not doing it for all my catalog, but say there's a folder I know I want to edit and I'm going to spend a lot of time. I don't want to have my hard drive plugged in the whole time. I will go and create some smart previews. The great thing about these is they hardly take up any space. The only thing, when you want to export them at a higher quality, you will need to plug in your hard drive. So to create them, all you're going to do is come back to library, where it says library up the top, come down to previews, and you're going to click on build smart previews. It will then ask if you want to build one or build all. I'm just going to build one to show you. And then you can see here, I've got original and smart preview. If I go back to these other photos, they're actually smart previews. It's not the actual photo. I don't have this hard drive plugged in. Yes, the next one is the tone curve, and it sounds pretty straightforward, but I'm sure there's a lot of people, yes, you aren't making full use out of the tone curve. It's definitely the most powerful tool in Lightroom, in my opinion, and I did a video on it not too long ago, so you can check that out up the top here if you don't quite understand the tone curve. I'm going to go through it really quickly here. So this one line on the tone curve represents your entire image. That's why it's so powerful. You can make big changes with a few simple clicks. So you've got your darkest part of the image at the bottom, moving up to the lightest part of the image. So if I pull down here, it's going to darken my shadows a little bit. If I pull up the top here, it's going to kind of brighten those highlights a little bit. And then of course in the middle, you've got your midtone. So I can pull that up a little bit. And there you can see 3 quick adjustments. That's all I've done. And I've already got a pretty nice edit there just from 3 adjustments. That's why the tone curve is so powerful. Now the tone curve is also great to kind of play around with colors a little bit. So of course you've got your total curve, but then these 3 colored curves as well. You can kind of add in a little bit of color to different parts of the image. So in the same way, down the bottom here, you're going to be adding in color to those shadows. And then up the top here, you'll be adding in color to the highlights. Likewise, in the middle, you've got your midtones. So let's just do the same thing there very quickly on each of these curves, just to see what it does to this image. Add in a little bit of yellow there. Bring in a little bit of blue back. So you can see just from a few quick adjustments on the tone curve. Let's go before and after again. I'll turn the tone curve off. You can see how much of a difference that made just from adjusting those 4 curves. Very slight S curve on each of them, you can see. So tip number 8, nearly there. This one is probably the most simple, but also the shortcut that I use the most in Lightroom, and that's using this backslash. Okay, so all backslash does is show you your before and after. By hitting that, you can see if you're headed in the right direction when you're editing. You can also press it at the end when you finish editing. The last thing you want to do is get to the end of your edit. You've spent a good hour on it. You hit backslash and you think, oh shit, the original actually looks better. So it's a good habit to get into, pressing it throughout your edit. Of course, you can use your before and after previews down the bottom here, which you can just hit Y to get. But I find backslash much easier, much quicker. So I tend to use that a lot more. Super simple one, probably the shortcut I use most. So tip number 9, second last, and that's using camera calibration for your color grading. Now let's just hit auto on this one to brighten it up a little bit. I don't really like what that's done, so let's just turn it down a little bit. And then I'm going to come down to calibration, which is right down the bottom here. So be careful with this one. Remember, with great power comes great responsibility. I think it is. But basically with this one, it is easy to overdo, especially if you're using it on skin tone. So just be a little bit careful. But for an image like this with no skin tones, you can really push it. It means you can kind of really push your blues to more of a teal color. You can do the same with your kind of reds more towards orange. And you can really kind of increase that a lot as well. So you can see just with a few quick adjustments how you can affect the overall color of your image. And if I hit before and after, you can see how greatly that color has changed. I haven't even touched my HSL tab. So use camera calibration wisely. It is a really useful tool. I tend to make slight adjustments here first and then go and adjust things like the HSL colors individually. So use it wisely. Don't go too heavy on your skin tones. So lucky last, tip number 10 is a really important one, and it's gonna save you a lot of time, energy, and hassle if you do it well. And that's organization. The biggest thing with organization is probably to use your stars, use your color labels. And the last thing that I do a lot of as well is make collections. Now, for all my star labeling, usually I will use 2, 4, and 5. Don't ask me why I use those particular star ratings, but for me, it works really well. I use 2 star for anything that potentially I want to edit. I use 4 star for anything that I really like that I'm definitely going to edit. And then I leave 5 star for anything that I absolutely love that I want to keep in my real favorite photos. So once you've starred some of your images, you can kind of use the filter. So it will select just all the 2 star images, all my 4 star images. And then the other thing I did on this particular trip was use a yellow label. Now I'll turn the star filter off. I'll show you how I used yellow. This was for all the Huawei shots. So it just separated them. Obviously your star ratings, you're just gonna hit 1 for 1 star, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then your colors, you can work through 6, 7, 8, 9, because it will save you a lot of time and energy. Trust me. So there you have it, my top 10 tips for Lightroom. I hope you did find this video useful. Jump into Lightroom, start using some of them. Lightroom is so powerful, make the most out of it. Remember to give it a good thumbs up and subscribe if you did get a bit of value out of it. I'm TKNORTH, hope to see you back here very soon. Bye for now. I guess I should do my usual, huh? Kind of hit the camera, sign out.